Hello, how's everybody doing? This is Tom from Tom and Ruth Podcast. I like my podcast channel because I don't have to really go like bam, 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 bam. I can just talk and jabber, 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 and the ones who want to listen to it, they can listen to it. And I like it because if I do it on my Tom and Ruth channel, I can jabber, but it really doesn't seem to get the views. And I can jabber here and I get the same or more views here than I do on my channel. That's weird, right? I guess different subscribers. Today we're going to talk about understanding Filipino. I made my notes. And understand Filipino and how they are. And this would be great for someone who's actually coming to the Philippines for the first time and talking to Filipino for the first time. And maybe they're going to build a house, or maybe they're looking for an apartment, or maybe they want to move in a particular area but really don't know. And sometimes what you say is they misunderstand it completely. They didn't hear any of it. One day, last week, I went to the taxi and I said, I live here, here's my address. And he just couldn't understand it. It's in English, but didn't understand it. So I spelled out the last area, actually where it is and what Paroc it's in. Like they have Paroc 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And still don't understand. I think, he's playing me. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking he's playing me. He said, sir, no English. And I said, it's really simple, you know. This street is in Visaya. This is in Visaya. Put this in your phone, GPS. Put this in your phone, or hand me your phone. I put it in the phone for him. Really easy. Took it right there in the house. So understanding Filipino, sometimes you just have to. You're not in Kansas. Your boots on the ground. Understanding Filipino, the things they do that you think they're mad at you or think that they just don't understand. They'll sometimes, you'll ask them a question and they'll do this. They'll do this. Well, you don't see it because you're looking here, you're looking there, you don't see it. And so I ask them again that it is. Instead of answering, us Americans and foreigners, we just answer, yeah, no, okay, not really, whatever. But here in the Philippines, it is. Well, if you're not watching their eyebrows, you're not watching their face. And even in the conversation, you know, I went to the market today and I saw a pineapple for 25 peso and this. I do that. Or as you talk to them, you really got the interest. I got it high and it's red. And then it'll go like that. So you have to be aware of that. Sometimes you're here in the Philippines. A funny thing is they point with their lips. So they're there. Where is the closest way to get? Where's the street to get to town? And they'll point using their lips. Kind of frustrating. If you're not familiar with it, you're thinking, why doesn't he answer me? Right? I did that. The guy said, why don't you answer me, sir? Go. It's like this. He got mad. Sometimes they'll move their lips a certain way too. They'll point with their lips. They'll point and wiggle their eyebrows at the same time instead of just saying, just take this street, go down to the stop sign, make a right. I don't know. It's just who they are, the culture. So sometimes too, you may be here and you want to build something and you want to try to get something done as far as, I want this built this way. And they say, okay. He understood, but yet he builds it the way he wants to, or he never understood you in the beginning. And you'll find that way sometimes with your Filipina. She will understand certain things that you do, and sometimes you just won't understand anything at all. You'll be talking to her and you think she's in the conversation 100%, and she did not hear a word you said. And you've been going on for 5 minutes. You really have to make sure you have their attention when you speak. And how I do it now is are you listening? And that's really rude, but I'm tired of repeating myself, especially the or I'm trying to get a point across. Please don't do this and please don't do that. And sometimes you're listening. Sometimes they don't hear a word I even tell them. So the easiest way that I found is just straightforward. Just ask them straightforward. And does it hurt the feelings? It does. So a lot of times, remember, we as foreigners are used to sarcasm. We're used to saying, hey, I don't care. See ya. and you walk away. Here, you got to be very careful because their emotions are on the sleeve. Where we're necessarily not emotional on the sleeve, we have rage. Rage will hit us. Anger hits us. Where a simple thing that makes us angry, where a simple thing doesn't make them angry. Guy pulls off in front of a guy. Here, he doesn't get angry like they do elsewhere in the world. We get angry, like, that guy, what is it? Cut me off. What's wrong with this guy? Like that. Well, a Filipino just takes it with stride, and they learn how to just deal with it that way, in their own way. They don't care. They'll merge. They're not worried about it. They're laid back about it. And if they have to go 60 mile an hour in a 20 mile an hour zone, it's okay. And they figure it out, And so you really have to be aware. But it doesn't mean that they don't get in accidents. They do. They get in accidents. Look at the cars. Look at the taxis. They get in accidents all the time. There's accidents all the time here. Are there just mistakes? Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, I see them all the time. But it's sometimes where a motorcycle tried to overtake a car or truck and everything else. And it happens that way. Two, sometimes when you're talking to them, they'll get up, and I've had this happen, they'll get up and take off. Like, where'd he go? Where's he going? And so you find out later, he shows up later, where'd you go? I went to go eat lunch. Right in the middle of my conversation with you. And I asked Ruth, I said, what is it going on with that? Oh, he was done. I said, so he's done, so he gets up and leaves in the middle of the conversation. Am I that bad of a person? No, I'm not. But she said, that's just the way it is here. You may be having a party at the house and wonder where your daughter's at, and you wonder where she's going, and she may be off with a grandma or cousin or brother on the motorcycle. So you really don't know. It's really one of those things you think you know, but you don't know anything. You have to eventually find out where they're at. And so, oh yeah, they'll be back this afternoon. Well, they didn't ask me to go anywhere. So you have to really, really, really be aware. And sometimes you have to sit down and say, please, I bought you this, please don't take this here. Or I bought you this, please don't take that there. I bought you this, you got to do this and you got to do that. And it really makes a difference, when you're doing things, to making it right. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in trouble. 100%. Because I had it to where one time Mara took off. I didn't know where she was at for the longest time. And finally I asked Ruth, she goes, I don't know where she's at. And she was with her grandma somewhere. Took off, just take off. And that's their nature. They just, where'd your brother go? Where'd my brother-in-law go? Oh, they went home. Well, what, they don't say bye? So I make it mandatory now. You come to my house, you say hi, and then you say bye. If they don't like it, don't come. Sorry, it's just the way I am. And they don't mind, so they know the rules, so they come still. Because it's food, it's good food. It's always good food. Ruth always makes really good food. I mean, we spare no expense. The best cake, buttercream icing, the best things we can find. Sometimes we have it where she makes casserole dishes. And I mean, because people sometimes will send me something and we'll save it for an occasion. Like we got some canned beans and things like that from a gentleman that sent me some, Tim sent me some. And so we just savor it and hold on to it. I got a can of tomatoes in there I've had now for almost 6 months that we're saving it. And I want to make salsa out of it. Don't really understand the English. When you speak to them, they really don't understand the English. You think they understand it, and they don't understand you at all. And sometimes you think they're into the conversation and excuse me, and they're listening to you, and sometimes, as I said earlier, they're not. So what you have to really be careful with, and have to be careful with something else here, is your sarcasm. Sometimes we can all be sarcastic in a way, and I said a joke one time, and they took it wrong. And a couple of sisters stayed mad at me for a year, and I didn't know. And eventually one time I asked, and they said, you called me an alligator. I said, no, I did not call you an alligator. Listen to the English words. And so I explained it to her. See you later, alligator, after a while, crocodile, and they thought I called him an alligator, and I did not. So I had to set that straight. I said, guys, it's an American slang term as joke. Like, I am alligator. I have teeth like alligator. Then when you make fun of yourself, they'll laugh. I am like alligator eating this piece of chicken, and you show yourself eating this chicken, and they'll laugh. Where it's not funny to us, but it's so funny to them. And I'll make fun like, oh, my belly I'm pregnant. I have quadruplets coming, 4. And they'll laugh, laugh, laugh. Where it's different on the other side. So you really have to take the time and realize what is the understanding of English and how you say it. Sometimes they get emotional, meaning they'll hold something on their sleeve and say something, and they find themselves in a situation where I wish you didn't, you said it and you wish you didn't say it because they misunderstood it completely. So you really have to excuse the noise. I guess we have visitor. So I guess you really have to watch what you say here and be very careful of that. And through the years I've been here, I've realized that nobody's perfect, and sometimes people are just going to misunderstand you. Especially the taxi drivers, especially people. But you'll find yourself, honestly, unless you have some American friends here, you may find yourself a little on the lonely side. You may find yourself a little bit situated off to the side, because not everybody speaks English. Unless you understand Visaya and speak it, you're going to be sitting in the corner. And so that's the reason a lot of Americans and foreigners in general get really upset and eventually just end up somewhere else, like taking them backstage or back home because they miss that common ground talking to an American. I recently met an American at the mall, and that's what he said. He said, I've not talked to an American. My wife speaks very little English, and I'm not talking American in over a year. And I'm having a problem socially because of it. I said, you're not to no one. He said, I don't have family. I don't have anybody I talk to. So he said, nobody really understands me at the house. And he said, I just sit there and I'm so bored. I feel like I'm in prison. I said, wow. I said, you should never feel like you're in prison. If you feel like that, you need to go somewhere else or move. Take your wife somewhere else, because it's like, or learn the language and speak it. And he says, well, the same thing. They made fun of him because he's from Virginia and he had a slang, and he said, they just make fun of me. So I eventually stopped, and I said, yeah, which they do. They inadvertently don't know it really eventually after a couple hundred times you learn, because I used to say lament all the time. Hungry, I'm lament, it's lament. And they say it's not a T on the end. It's L-A-M-I, lament. So I always would put a T at the end, and people would laugh at me. And I'd always say, Gigutum go? Gigutum. I'm hungry. And they would just laugh. They still laugh. The way I say it. And like my town I live in is Marama, and I say that all wrong. And of course, Cagayan, I say that, and they say that's fine. But there's quite a few words that I say that I know Visaya, but I don't understand. I understand about every 10th word that they say, and out of 8 years being here. So you just really have to take the time and understand where you're at. You're not in USA, and you've got to adhere to their culture. They're the nicest people in the world, and they will do anything for you. And you treat them with respect, they'll give you respect. But you disrespect to them, and they'll treat you disrespectful. It's understandable. But the culture itself is really nice. No matter what, they're there to help. And you should be that way to them too. So if a neighbor needs a little rice, have your wife give it to them, or your daughter, or your son, or somebody in the family give it to them. If you give it to them personally, they'll be knocking on the door for you personally. So you got to be really careful with that. Giving away food, don't give it away yourself. Give it away to a family member to give away. If you give it away yourself, they'll be knocking on the door. I need money. I need money for medical. I need money for this. I need money. My mother's in the hospital. I needed this. And no matter how much money you have, if you are a billionaire here, you could easily spend that $1 billion just really fast. So you really have to be really aware that that's something you got to be aware of. I want to thank everybody for always watching my videos. I want to thank everybody for always coming on. And I'll see you guys next time on Tom and Ruth Podcast.